emerges from beneath the sand. Don't stick with me, girl, seems so far away. Across this universe, she lives another day. I know the reason she's hate. I know the reason she's so far away. I know the reason she's hate. I know the reason she's so far away. Nico, how could we run from everything we have done? It only takes us one more day to run. Nico, how could we run from everything we have done? It only takes us one more day. Nico, how the reason she's hate. Nico, how the reason she's so far away. Nico, how the reason she's hate. Nico, how the reason she's I know the reason she's hate. I know the reason she's so far away. I know the reason she's hate. I know the reason she's so far away.
All right, we are live.
Live.
There we go.
What's going on, guys?
What's
How are
up?
you?
I'm good.
Lots and lots to talk about today.
Happy Monday.
Yeah.
Happy Monday. Gosh, it's been an incredible weekend for sure for sports. What I thought we'd be coming in and talking about kind of took the world by storm, I think, which was I thought that yesterday all we would be hearing about was where teams were seated in March Madness, But instead, this guy decided right in the middle. I mean, literally, like they're announcing like the second number 1 seed is, and then all of a sudden it's like breaking news. Tom Brady decided he wanted to make sure the NCAA was not the topic of discussion, but instead it was him.
The second time he's done that, because he did that to Ben Roethlisberger too with the whole retirement thing. Like,
He did. So actually,
He's probably the happiest guy of them all, right?
I said that last night. I said, who's the biggest winner in this whole thing?
Yeah.
And it's Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah,
by far.
100%.
By far. There's not even a second. Like,
You know, he turned to his wife and he said, "I'm relevant again.
Yeah, he's like,
I'm relevant. This is
only
awesome."
me.
Yes.
God, you know who was trying to be relevant at one point, and what the heck?
Uh-oh.
That's a nice
All
ground.
right, there we go.
All right.
Okay.
Throw-
Well, that was
throw-
good. That was good. Well, anyways, someone that was trying to be relevant was, remember this tweet
Oh, yes.
from the Jets when the Jets said this better be real? They've deleted it off their account.
It didn't age
Because
well.
they got the news that it wasn't real.
Yeah.
How typical in Jets fashion.
It's-
Nothing turns out ever
So-
right.
It's so
Yeah.
Jets, it's not even
Yeah,
funny.
it's so great.
It is.
Man, the dominoes this last week were crazy. Okay, and if you think about this, it's almost like, and I'm just this is speculation. But if you're Brady and you're sitting at home, and you see that Russell Wilson moves to the AFC, and you see that Aaron Rodgers decides to stay home, almost like, oh, the NFC's mine now. I wonder if it ticked him off a little bit. I wonder if he was kind of like, oh, Aaron thinks that he can just.
To be honest, I just think Tom Brady really hates his family. That's the only thing I can think of is like, you hate your family that much that you were with them for the last 2 months, and you're like,
I'm out.
I can't do this no more.
His
I need to go back to work.
His retirement lasted 40 days only. 40 days.
So is Giselle that bad?
That's what I'm saying. So maybe he got home and she just had like a honey-do list like every day,
Yeah.
and he was like, you know, I'm not doing this shit anymore. I'm not doing this.
Or he realized the dad thing, which is how many times dad gets said in a day when you're home.
But they're not that old. Like, I'm sorry, they're not that young. Usually
It
you
doesn't
think,
matter.
Like 2 and 3 year olds.
They still
I
say
know,
dad
but
all
it's
the time.
not that. They're not that young.
Well, Golden brings up a good point. The biggest loser from the weekend is the guy that bought the last touchdown pass.
Yeah.
The ball went on auction and it
Saturday night?
Yeah, it finished Saturday night for like 500 and something, 516.
516 or something.
Yeah, $516,000. So whoever bought that ball this morning is canceling all their credit cards, like whatever form of payment
Saying
they
it was
put
stolen.
that. Yeah, saying, "Oh, that wasn't me that bid.
They
that was somebody
they
else."
probably paid PayPal goods and services
So they
just
can return it on Monday.
dispute. This
Yeah.
is not as described. It was
100%.
described as the last touchdown
yeah,
ball.
I'm saying it
It
was
is
a-
now. That's
right?
technically that's probably the one time that it actually isn't as
It was
described.
described as the last touchdown, and it might not be now.
Although
What
you
if
know,
he comes in? Okay, what if he comes in?
Really, it might not be. It's definitely not going to
What if he comes in?
be. And hurts himself.
Correct.
Oh, does Tom Brady get hurt?
He's had a torn ACL before.
long time.
Okay, so he played for how many year? 20-year career, and
This is
Odds
23.
are-
This is season 23.
When Matt Castle had to come in and finish that season.
well, Matt Castle, got paid big money.
Okay,
after
but what I'm
that.
saying is that if that happens again,
He did.
and then that ends up being his last touchdown because he misses the whole entire season.
No.
I doubt that will happen because we know how they treat these quarterbacks now with baby gloves going into the season.
I'm not saying it won't be a penalty. I'm just saying it could happen.
Okay.
You know,
I think that ball is dead to me.
This is the Cowboys fan in his truest form coming out right now.
This is
Just
it.
wishing all of his enemies to die on the field
Right.
all at one time.
No,
just
it's not. It's-
he wants every quarterback in the NFC to just all fall over at the same
No,
time.
it's a Cowboys fan knowing that anything and everything can happen, even when you think that you're on top of the on top of the world. It's like, oh, by the way, this is gonna happen.
It definitely happens to the Cowboys.
About the
Exactly.
Cowboys fan, and basically the only way he knows he's going to get anywhere in the NFC is for every quarterback.
Speaking
down.
about
I knew
Cowboys,
Aaron Rodgers.
they were making
Yeah.
moves all weekend.
They
What's up
were,
with your
absolutely.
boys?
Yeah, well, after they made, I actually like this move quite a bit with the Amari Cooper deal. I like it because he was owed so much money. Like in true Dallas Cowboy fashion, like a bunch of idiots, we signed Ezekiel Elliott to way too much money. 2 years before his contract was expired, I was pissed off about that deal. But because you paid Ezekiel Elliott all that money, now you're on the hook for $20 million for Cooper. So you got to get, they're talking about releasing him. Then they tried to find a trade partner. So I know that some people were, talking crap about the whole deal because they got, it's a 5th and a 6th round pick. It's basically garbage, right?
Yeah.
But they were going to release them. They were going to release them anyways. So now you get those 2 picks back, and you free up $20 million in cap space. They have enough cap space now after they restructured Dak's contract to make a splash in free agency. So
I
they could
get
go out
the
and get somebody.
move. What I didn't like is it's the wrong guy, right? Is that Zeke was the piece that had to be moved, and they just couldn't,
I
right?
agree.
They were just stuck with him.
I agree.
And so you had to get rid of a productive player
Correct.
that was actually making CeeDee Lamb better. Are you going to find another person that's going to be able to do it? Now,
In true Dallas Cowboy fashion, they go out right after and sign a guy who's coming off a major injury
Right.
in Michael Gallup.
right.
So it's like, this is typical Dallas Cowboys.
They only,
Right.
they only gave him 5 years, though.
Yeah, only a 5-year contract when the guy's only played 3, and he hasn't even got through a complete
And they
season
probably
yet.
guaranteed 70% of the contract.
Free Simi Fehoko. I have so many autographs of Simi Fehoko.
We're
Free
ready.
Simi Fehoko. The shop probably has 15 autographs
gosh.
of his.
You and Jordan Dove probably have the most Simi Fehoko autos out there.
Free Simi Fehoko. That was the biggest news I pulled from Cooper getting traded to Cleveland.
Oh, yeah,
So
absolutely.
Amari goes to the Browns, and then the Browns announced this morning that they released Jarvis Landry. They
Right.
couldn't find a partner for him. Now, I think it would be absolutely hilarious if the Cowboys signed Jarvis Landry and got the cheaper version of Amari Cooper. That would kind of be like they stole, and that would really make the Browns look bad.
He would be a hell of a lot cheaper, I can tell you that right
He
now.
would
I
be.
think that his smartest
He would
move would
be.
probably be, and I wouldn't put it past the Patriots to sign Landry because he's like, to me, he's like the prototypical Patriots type receiver.
I agree, and I think that that's a good situation for him. I
Yeah.
wouldn't be surprised, though, as weird as it is, if he went back to Miami.
Yeah, you were saying that yesterday.
Yeah, he's
Possibly,
he's a guy that like he's kind of like a creature of habit.
Mm-hmm.
I think he really liked being in Miami. I think he really found out the ugly side of the NFL when he went there, and he's like, you know what? I don't have to deal with the media. It's not a circus. Yeah, there's issues, but whatever. And he's always going to look at an opportunity to be across from somebody. And Jalen Waddle's a really nice piece to be across from.
Yeah. I mean, he's always been the number one wherever he's gone. Even when they brought in Odell Beckham, that didn't work out with Odell Beckham being the number one. So Landry's always been the number one. If he goes to Miami, he's clearly going to be the number 2.
And he's a possession guy that, for the type of quarterback that Tua is,
Right.
would see a lot of touches. He'd see a lot of touches there. So if he got a lot of incentives in a contract, he might have his agent saying, hey, this is a good spot for you
And they
because
just
they're going to
upgraded-
throw you 7 to 10 yard slants.
They just
You know?
upgraded their running back room too today. They signed Chase Edmonds
Yeah.
to a 2-year deal. Overpaid him as well.
And then that
2
spurred-
years, $12.6 million.
And then that's where Connor getting an extension, right?
Right after Chase Edmonds signed with Miami, the Arizona Cardinals gave James Conner a 3-year extension, which
How-
leaves only Eno Benjamin behind him pretty much. It's
How is it possible that these GMs
That's what-
and these coaches are still investing in running backs? Nobody should ever invest in a running back. You could get any guy off the street. Every team has done it for years and years because most running backs get
Yeah.
hurt.
Yes.
They bring in the next guy, and the production is still there.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. They're all so close. Like, you should never waste any amount of money on a running back in the NFL.
We just
I
watched
agree.
the Chargers do that last year. They just went and they drafted Josh Kelly.
Yeah.
Right? And immediately he's an impactful running back because they have a decent offensive line. News alert, if your offensive line is good, we can put Jimmy in the backfield and get 3.5
I'll
yards.
get 3. I'll
That's
get 3.
right.
That's why they doubled down on that and grabbed Larry Roundtree also.
Right.
So it's like they
Right.
draft Josh Kelly 1 year, and then the very next year they draft Roundtree.
All you do is just second, third,
And
fourth
they still have
round,
Justin
grab a running
Jackson
back
on
that's
their,
their
on their
first.
rookie deal. That's how you do it. You don't
Yeah.
need a first or second round running back. And even in the draft,
Then
you
you
don't
can
have
go
to.
spend money on wide receivers
You
and
go
things
take
that are pretty.
look at like Elijah Mitchell. They take the Niners take Trey
Yeah.
Sermon in the second round, I think.
Yeah.
They take Trey Sermon second or third, and then they turn around and take Elijah Mitchell in the 6th, and he ends up beating him out in the preseason and taking that job over. So it's like you don't have to go and spend all this draft capital on running backs, and you don't have to pay these guys. And I feel bad because they take a huge beating,
Yeah,
and
they
their
do.
careers don't last long.
Yeah.
So that's why you try to cash in while
But they
you
get
can.
to play football for a living.
But they can play football for a living, and it's still a game. And so that's why, to me, Connor is the ultimate sell in Dynasty Fantasy. He's the ultimate sell. With this 3-year signing, Everyone thinks he's going to go out there and try to replicate what he did last year. And you're talking about ridiculous numbers. He scored 18 touchdowns, rushing and receiving combined. 18.
Right.
That's not happening again this year. There's going to be a regression there. It's not going to happen again this year. And I like the guy behind him. I liked him a lot in college when I saw him at Arizona State with Benjamin. Now he's direct backup, and I think that Benjamin will get some running time there too.
Yeah. So Devontae Adams has come out and basically told Green Bay, you're not going to assign me to the franchise tag, because if you do, all you're doing is wasting your money, because I'm not going to sign. And I honestly believe him. He's one of the few people in the league that's been so outspoken and he's said things and lived by it. He's told receivers, you're a piece of crap for how you acted, what you did, what this was. You lied to me. The whole Odell Beckham thing, if you remember. He called Odell Beckham. He is very straight shooter. I don't think he BS's, and I don't think this is his agent trying to spin it to try to get a deal done. His agent doesn't need to do that. This dude's pissed. He's pissed.
And that's the thing that we're talking about. That's why you save money at running back, so you can go sign guys like Devontae Adams for long-term, big money deals and lock him in, make him a Packer for life. Now you have probably the number 1 or number 2 best wide receiver, him and DeAndre Hopkins.
Amari Rodgers is really good, right?
Yeah.
So across from him, Green Bay's got a player that doesn't cost them a lot of money that's there.
So you're, as a Green Bay Packer, you're comfortable going into next year because you're losing Marquez Valdez-Scantling.
No, but what I'm saying is I'm Green Bay. I would have made the move to try to sign this guy sooner.
Yes.
So we don't get to this point because we have another piece there that just makes our team that much better, whether it was going to be Love or Rodgers.
Well, they're going to be in big trouble if they don't get this Adams thing taken care of, because I'm telling you right now, you can't go into a season with Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback and your number 1 guy is Amari Rodgers.
Well, they screwed themselves by last year paying Aaron Jones.
Yeah.
What are you paying Aaron Jones for when you should be paying Devontae Adams?
When you have A.J. Dillon back there on a rookie contract, and then the other kid they have behind A.J. Dillon, who was actually pretty good too, Kylan Hill.
Kylan Hill.
But they have Kylan Hill right behind him, so that's how you do it. Everyone's showing you the blueprint of how you do it. Is you draft running backs late in the draft. You go out and you draft like Damian Harris a little bit later than everybody else. You go out and draft Ramondre Stevenson, late in the 4th round. Because you got these guys for cheap, and then as they start to get closer, they're like, see you guys.
The only
we'll get another one.
The only argument I'll ever give a team, and this is because this is the ugly business side of it, right? Is if that running back, Christian McCaffrey, for example, is the guy that is going to sell jerseys and product for your franchise, then okay, pay him. I get it. I get what you're doing there. But there's only a handful of those because the quarterback is almost always in front of them.
Tennessee Titans,
yes.
Prime example.
Sign Derrick Henry.
He is your guy.
Yes.
He's
face of your franchise.
the guy.
Yep.
You sign him, you pay him.
Yes.
That's the guy that you're going to ride with. Then you run with your weak wide receivers and these guys that you just pick up off in the draft, because you know your quarterback can't throw anyways. So you have to sign your running back.
Yeah.
If you have a quarterback that's terrible, then you might have to look at keeping that running
He's
back.
also 35 years old. Right?
Speaking of horrible quarterbacks, Kirk Cousins got an extension.
That's not where I thought you were going down. I thought you were going to go with Trubisky.
I swear to God, okay, I've been hating on him for now 2 months straight since the Pro Bowl, saying Jalen Hurts should have been in the Pro Bowl over him, and there's not even a close comparison as to why. I shouldn't have to explain it to anybody. Even casual fan off the street should be able to look at it and say, well, that guy got his team to the playoffs, right? And we're now looking at an extension being signed for a year as a placeholder, and I get what they're doing.
Did you see how much it was for?
It's like $30 million.
35.
$35 million. Bro, I have never seen anybody come in and steal from a franchise like Kirk Cousins has done.
But he's done it his whole career.
I know.
Look back when he was with Washington.
done
How
his
many
whole
franchise
career.
tags did he get? 3?
Yeah.
Bro.
He made like $40 million a year of like 3 years
This
in a
guy
row.
literally is a top-paid quarterback in the league and doesn't sniff the top 20.
Oh my God.
It's the most unbelievable thing.
You know who's more pissed about anybody at this? Justin Jefferson and
Yeah.
Eric Thielen. They're both sitting there thinking like, oh my God, we almost got away from this guy who can't throw us a damn ball. They got 2 studs. And it's like, what the hell?
So what does that say
Jefferson-
about Kellen Mond then?
Jefferson was saying
not the
about
guy.
Kellen Mond that Kellen Mond threw a nice ball and working with him, he came out and said some positive things. And then they go inside. It was almost like he did it, even if it wasn't. It was almost like he was making that interjection to kind of move Kirk Cousins, and instead this is what they do, all because of the Wentz move. It's literally because Wentz went to Washington, they decided to sign him. It's literally what the move was, and it blows my mind.
I don't get why you pay him $35 million if you have a young guy like Kellen Mond who's under his rookie deal who you didn't draft in the first round. So now Kellen Mond's had a whole year behind Cousins. He wasn't hurt. He was the backup.
Yeah.
So you either see what you have or you just don't believe in Kellen Mond, because why else would you sign Kirk Cousins to a $35 million deal? Now, granted, on the fantasy aspect, because I'm obviously the fantasy guy in the room, right? I love Kirk Cousins in fantasy football because all the dude does is put up fantasy points and you get garbage time. So every year, he's in the top 10 in scoring for quarterbacks.
But that's because he's always playing catch up.
Right. Which
He's
I'm okay
always
with
behind.
As a fantasy guy.
He's always behind.
Garbage time is the best. He will go into a fourth quarter with 2 fantasy points and end up with 23 fantasy points.
Their defense can give up 9 points through 3 quarters, and they're down 9-2 because the defense scored a safety. Literally, they're always behind.
Yeah.
He'll get 90-yard drive and then get sacked 3 times and take him out of field goal range.
Right.
Like, it's literally...
Speaking of field goal range, they tagged Brady Joseph.
Yeah.
There you go.
And
it just blows my mind how, like, these guys are... And these GMs, we're talking about, they're smart guys. And they're making millions of dollars to run these teams. And they make these stupidest damn plays you can ever think of. And everybody just sits there and looks at them like, what?
Because I think they have people in their ear that are behind the scenes that no one knows, and I think they're listening to people. Yeah. Like the guy like Mayock who went to the Raiders, like they took him off of NFL Network, and then they're talking about like Louis Riddick, who's on NFL Network, getting plucked maybe for a GM job. Like they're pulling guys that are like analysts on these shows.
They're clipboard GMs.
Yes,
what they are.
But
they write a sketch out
because they into these positions, and so they're obviously not going to walk around and be like, "Hey, we're doing this." So like they have people in their ears that you just don't know.
Well, how does the Packers GM keep his job? You freaking drafted Jordan Love in the first round.
Yeah.
That's basically like just taking your first round pick and going.
And
all
can
right,
I
we
tell
don't
you
care.
something? How? I'm just gonna say this. How do you sign Aaron Rodgers and not already have Love moved?
Right.
Love should have already been moved.
Right.
Before you signed it.
Right. You had a chance. You had a chance to move him before you signed Rodgers. You could have made the move and gotten a a good return for him. Mm-hmm. And now they're going to look at it as Aaron said he wants him out of camp.
And didn't they trade up to get Love?
They did.
Yes.
They traded up to get him, too.
Right.
It's like...
Because everyone thought they were going for a wide receiver.
Right.
Yeah.
When they traded up, and I'm sure Aaron Rodgers did too. But the funny thing about that too is you see all these contracts that get signed to these extensions. Like obviously Aaron Rodgers is a Hall of Famer, right? A lot of times at the end of their career, when they're signing like their last deal, they sometimes will do a team-friendly signing so that they can put their pieces in to win a Super Bowl. Right. Aaron Rodgers did the exact opposite. Right. He's like, give me the most money you possibly can so that we can strap ourselves for cash, and then we're going to let our top receiver walk, and we're going to overpay our top running back, and then our defense is like middle of the road, top 15. You know, middle of the road, top 15 defense. And so now he's got no pieces around him.
Right.
He's got no pieces around him.
Harrison made the point that the Cousins deal is a cap saver. I'm not arguing that the money portion of this, like at the end of the day, he's stealing from the franchise for the money they're giving him guaranteed. But what I'm saying is, I understand it's a 1-year thing, and I know that they're moving on out next year and everything. But the problem is, there's too much available for you to actually do this year. You could have moved with Kellen Mond this year and saw what you had, especially in that division, knowing that Aaron Rodgers is back.
Knowing you're not going to win
the
division.
You're probably not going to win the division.
You're not going to win the
Fields
Super Bowl.
is going to be better. Like,
so why not? So why not go out and just see what you have in Kellen Mond? And if it's a bad year, then at least you know that he's not your quarterback of your future.
And if he's decent but not great for you, you got something for him in the future, rather than nothing for him.
So we get it's a cap deal, but it's like you want to see what you have in these guys if you're not going to be competing for a Super Bowl,
right?
And now there's word. There wasn't a finalized deal. I did look it up, but they're in talks finalizing a deal. Allen Robinson going to Detroit Lions. It's almost finalized. So
that's crazy.
You're giving Goff another weapon, but you know what's funny is that's probably the best quarterback that Allen Robinson's ever played with.
No, it is, and the thing is that That's saying a lot too.
I mean,
'Cause
he's
played for
and-
70 quarterbacks. So
Dude, it's like-
he's literally had 70 quarterbacks in his career because he's had 5 quarterbacks a year every team he's played
Right.
for.
And this is the best quarterback he's ever had, Jared Goff.
No, it is. And that receiving core, that young receiving core that the Lions have,
Yeah.
what a nice piece to bring in.
Yeah.
A nice
That-
veteran. Yeah, that's a good
that-
pickup for
St.
them.
Brown,
That
I think
is.
it's huge for them.
Yeah.
They have Hawkinson there, they have St. Brown there, now they have Allen Robinson, so you have DeAndre Swift in the backfield.
And
so
what
they
that
have a good
actually
offense.
does is Armon St. Brown came on at the end of the year, and people kind of started to game plan for him, and
Yep.
now he's going to be opened up a little bit. So you might, both from the fantasy and the investment standpoint, that might be a grab right now to be able to get.
And you don't think he wants to stick it to the Bears 2 times
Oh,
a
of
year by
course
staying
he
in the
does.
same division?
Oh, of course he does.
I can't wait till that's finalized. There's word that it's almost finalized.
So speaking of ex-Bears, Mitchell Trubisky got signed by the Steelers, which it's an upgrade for them from where they're currently at for sure.
Yeah, now you have 4 shit quarterbacks in camp.
Yeah. My question is did he get enough time in the Bills with the Bills?
Yeah, he looks
That he
so
could-
good backing up
that he
Josh
could
Allen
learn.
that he sprung
Right.
himself to a starting spot.
That's
in
what I'm
Pittsburgh.
wondering. I'm wondering if he actually learned from that and had improvements, or if he actually just is going to be, Mitch.
No,
that we
Mitchell
love.
Trubisky was never even
Right.
a good quarterback coming out of college.
I never.
He only played
never should've
13
won
games
signs.
in college.
He was
And,
never
like,
the guy
Yeah.
coming out. So it's like he's not going to be the guy now. It's nobody goes from not being the guy to the guy. This day
Joe
and age.
Burrow did.
No, Joe Burrow was
He went to LSU because he wasn't the guy. And
Correct,
became the
But
guy.
then he
But-
annihilated it for a year
I know.
at least.
Then he became the guy for a year.
Right.
I get it.
and he won a national championship,
did.
a Heisman
He did.
Trophy, and the
I
MVP
agree.
of
I
the
agree.
Fiesta Bowl, I think it was.
Yeah.
So he was the guy, and now like the Tom Brady stories just don't happen nowadays because there's
Yeah.
so much that goes into all
There's way
these.
more eyes.
Yes, way more eyes, way more attention going to stuff. It doesn't fall through the cracks like it used to.
Right.
Now it's very hard to not be the guy and start being the guy when you're 23 years old.
Well, we
It just
talked
doesn't
talked
happen.
about the draft last week and how like telling that was
Mm-hmm.
on where the game's gone and what it's doing and how people are. There's just so much more information out there now. It's a nice move for the Steelers. It's a placeholder. It's something for their franchise to be able to talk about a little bit. Makes them a little more relevant. We'll see where that goes.
But there's a lot of ifs on that one because now, does Pittsburgh still draft a quarterback in the first round? Like every mock draft that's been out there, like do they still draft one in the first?
I don't-
They may take one later.
Well, no, and I think that's the move because what I actually think they were doing in the first place is I don't think that they wanted to be drafting a quarterback in the first round this year. I think they wanted to be drafting a quarterback in the first round next year.
Well, next year we've already started. All of us have already started looking
Yeah.
towards next year, and you're probably going to have 6 or 7 guys that are coming out next year.
I love the kid from Utah.
Oh, yeah.
I love the kid from Utah.
He's a baller, and then you got C.J. Stroud. You have all these guys that there's going to be 6 or 7 guys that are going to be at the top of that draft next year, and people are going to be really itching after this year's draft class to go get a quarterback because you're going to want to.
I actually think the Heisman race this year is going to be one of the most fun Heisman races, whereas they've been kind of boring the last few years. I actually think this year is going to be really fun because there's going to be a bunch of guys that are going to put up just ridiculous numbers weekly for a while. And
I just wonder if there's any Pittsburgh Steelers fans out there like listening right now. Like, are you happy with the Trubisky move? Because there was word that Garoppolo might get traded there. And me, as I'm not a fan of either one of these guys, but I would feel a little more comfortable with Garoppolo being my quarterback for that team rather than Mitchell Trubisky. Because this is a huge hit. This is a huge hit to all of their skill players. I think it brings the value down for Najee Harris next year because now everyone's just going to key on the run. They're going to stack the box every single time, right? So now he's going to have another subpar year, right? That's 2 years in, and running back careers don't last very long. I think there's a huge hit to Deontay Johnson, who I think is a stud. I know he had a problem with drops in the past, but I think the guy's a stud wide receiver.
Right.
This is a huge hit to him, too. So now you're taking another year off his career. Juju's a free agent. There was talks about maybe bringing him back. Maybe he signed somewhere else now because Mitchell Trubisky's the quarterback. I don't know. To me, this is a huge hit across the board with Trubisky.
I definitely think Juju goes to a distributor, and I wouldn't be surprised if he signed with the Raiders. I think that's a perfect situation for him. He's the right type. And Derek Carr's a distributor, so that's the perfect type quarterback for him. But we'll see how that plays out. Another guy in the talks is Deshaun Watson, obviously.
Yeah.
Now all the trade talks are up. I mean, we talked about it. I say it every week, where there's smoke, there's fire, right? The very first team that was mentioned in the Deshaun Watson race was the Panthers. Mm-hmm. The number one team talked about right now is the Panthers. Should we might as well just give him a helmet and have him go ahead and start playing catch with people?
No.
For the Panthers?
I'm saying Saints. I'm picking Saints.
Okay.
You think Saints are coming in, huh?
Saints are coming in hot, right?
What are they going to give?
What's Carolina going to give?
Carolina has picks.
They turned down 3 first-round picks from the Miami Dolphins earlier.
Yes, but you got to remember that was then. Now we're at a spot now where they don't hold the cards anymore. It's completely different. The offers are way different now.
It'll come down to where he wants to go.
I think
he's got the no-trade clause, and he's already said he's meeting with the Saints have already made an offer.
Both teams are meeting with him today.
And they both have made an offer.
Right.
And he's meeting with both those teams, the Saints and the
Right.
Panthers.
Does he have a no trade? Did you say
no
that?
trade clause.
He has a limited trade clause. He's penciled out a handful of teams, and then basically it said, and then these are the second tiers, but I have to discuss it.
So he's meeting with both those teams,
yeah.
and they both have made offers. Personally, I'd rather see him in New Orleans. I think both those teams need him badly because both of those teams
100%.
just realized that Tom Brady's coming back, and so they need to make a move.
If he goes to New Orleans, then the Bucs definitely have a tougher road.
If he goes to New Orleans, are they the front runners in that division and
yes.
for the Super Bowl and NFC?
You'll have Michael Thomas, who will hopefully be happy
back,
now,
yeah.
and he'll be back. And you have we don't know about Alvin Kamara yet. We don't know what's going on with his situation.
Right.
But I think that they're the front runners in that because they have a good defense.
Kamara is probably
They're a
not-
flat out good team all
Yes.
around. They almost won with Taysom Hill as their wannabe quarterback.
Carolina is just like one of those teams where it's like, yeah, does Watson make him better? Yeah, Watson makes him better, but I still don't think that Carolina can beat Tampa in that division with just bringing Watson there. Whereas I think that Watson going to the Saints makes him the front runner.
I definitely think that's a better team fit for Watson.
Yes.
I do believe, though, that he wants to maybe go to a franchise like Carolina.
Well,
because
he's
there will
from
be
there.
a lot less. Right, and there will be a lot less media pressure because of the market. And I get that New Orleans is kind of like that, but for football, New Orleans, you don't disappear to the media.
Yeah, I think we're down to
Carolina,
those
you
two
do
teams.
disappear, but I do
The
think
Saints
it's those
and
two.
Carolina.
Those are the two teams, and they both need him badly.
Yeah, and whoever gets him, that front office is going to be ecstatic because now you have a quarterback for the next 8 to 10 years.
Before you move on from football, one last thing is Melvin Gordon, Denver saying they're not going to re-sign him now because the word on the street last 2 weeks has been they're going to re-sign him and have him run the tandem with Javonte Williams. Now it's the Javonte Williams show. It's the Javonte Williams show in Denver with a brand new Russell Wilson who doesn't run as much as he used to. So I think the sky is the limit for Javonte Williams this next year. He should be going in the first 2 or 3 picks in fantasy draft.
I'm a Chargers fan, and the number one thing that was knocked on Melvin Gordon is that his teammates didn't like him. And I heard the same thing about him in Denver, that his teammates didn't like him.
Well, just look what he's just a troublemaker everywhere he goes. He's always been in trouble.
And so because of that, I'm not surprised to see Denver bring in a guy that basically is going to stand up. Russell Wilson's going to be the shortest guy in the locker room. He's going to stand up and he's going to hover over top of everybody and everything he says. And the one guy in the locker room that wasn't going to happen with is going to be gone. Yeah. And that's who this is. And, I'm not surprised to hear it, and I hate to say it, but he's probably going to end up on a team like the Giants, like the Jets. He's going to sign with one of those franchises.
Man, the Giants are the stupidest move ever.
Well, the Giants have to because of Saquon being hurt. They need the best running back that they can sign because they're not going to be able to draft.
Have you guys given him an extension yet?
Because they need
Barkley.
It's coming. We just did all this talk.
Hurt
we just did all this talk on not overpaying running backs and how it kills your franchise for years.
Yeah.
He's the only jersey that sells.
He's the face of the franchise.
Daniel Dimes is the MVP.
Stop.
He will be the MVP.
You died. He literally, guys,
year.
by the way, just so you know, Jimmy's on his third life now because he died this last week when Russell Wilson became a Bronco.
It did make me sad.
He
I was still hoping a backdoor trade.
He walked around for a day and a half just pissed off, and I was like, what's wrong with Jimmy?
We told him he wasn't going to he wasn't going to go there.
Right, we told him that.
So now my only hope is that,
It's Garoppolo.
Oh my God! No,
that is your only hope.
Our only hope is getting through this year unscathed and like at least build some more linemen, defense and offensive linemen. So next year when they are loaded at quarterback in the draft, we can go get one of those guys and be ready for a Super
I'm sure you'll
Bowl
pick the
run.
right one.
Can I tell you who, like, if they wanted to make the smartest move they could ever make, they would be on the phone with the Raiders, Marcus Mariota, yesterday. Because
As a
that
stopgap?
guy not being talked to for
How does
by
he
teams,
not have a job
He
somewhere?
should be a starter. He should have another crack with a good offensive line because all he did was run for his life in Tennessee.
Well, the Giants are out there.
Right?
He'll
But
run
what
for
I'm
his life
saying,
in
yeah, but there
the
we already
Giants.
know. Like, okay, draft board for the Giants: left tackle, right tackle, left guard, right guard. That's all they're drafting this year is line. That's it.
That's all we drafted the last two drafts.
Oh,
But
that's-
the guys have been terrible.
Yeah.
They've been the worst.
That's
like,
why
picks. It's like
they're going shotgun
what the
theory.
hell?
They're going shotgun theory. If
And
they
you
keep
need a
going,
wide
eventually
receiver.
they're going to hit one or two.
And you also are going to lose Evan Ingram in free
True.
agency, so you need a tight end.
Our
as well.
defense is pretty good. The defense is okay. We can live with the defense. Our offense is horrible from top to bottom. Our tight end Evan Ingram's terrible.
He's
Our
gone,
wide
anyways.
receivers terrible. Kadarius Toney's the only hope that we have in this offense.
Right.
He's like
And
a
he
thug.
and
wants
he
to fight.
yeah he wants to punch people in the
wants
face and get
Yeah.
suspended.
He wants to fight. I love it.
I
I love
love
that word. That's the talk about this.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you got rumor and like Harrison just mentioned that Mariota might go to the Colts. I hate to tell you guys this. I don't think anybody's going to the Colts. I think the Colts are gonna wait a year, maybe get themselves positioned where next year they got a high draft pick. I think they're at that point where they're like, look, we can suffice in the division. I don't know that we're gonna win it, but
Is
we
this
can
you
stay
pushing your
relevant.
Jake Fromm?
No. But Fromm should go there. Absolutely. It's a joke. It's a joke. But no, seriously, the thing is that I just don't think the Colts really want to make that move. And Frank Reich kind of told you that this week. Because he came out and apologized to Jim Irsay for pushing Carson Wentz to the door. So they're going to listen to the people up top. Frank Reich doesn't have a vote in the room. Frank Reich's not. So these guys that Frank Reich wants, they're not going to, right? Falcons picking him up, that suggestion, that's not a bad idea. And Matt Ryan, now if you told me that Matt Ryan was going to be a Colt, I would be all in with you. I would agree with you. Because that
Why haven't they tried to move him?
they're going to have to. And it's still coming. I think he's a draft day move.
He's got it. Yeah, he's got a big contract. Matt Ryan does, but man, the Atlanta Falcons are in a bad situation.
It's
dude,
gonna
because
be
no one wants to go. No one wants to
restructured.
go there. You have Kyle Pitts, who is essentially going to get double teamed now every play.
Yeah.
And they have
Ridley's gone.
The only guy they have under contract for the wide receivers is Frank Darby.
Yeah.
The rookie from last year. Like
Yeah.
Russell Gage is a free agent. Olamide Zacharias is a free agent. Calvin Ridley's gone. So like they have nobody else, dude. They have Frank Darby and
literally
Kyle
the
Pitts.
move here is, and this is my thought on it, is that the Falcons, although they don't want to move him in division, right? The Falcons would probably dangle him draft day to whoever doesn't get Deshaun Watson. So of those two teams,
I could see Matt Ryan being a
right.
Saint.
And
As a
if
four-man
they don't
Deshaun-
get
four-man
it,
Deshaun Watson,
right.
the
So
second place trophy.
they're going to get him, and you're going to get a second round pick and a fourth round pick and maybe a backup quarterback. So that might be an Ian Book move or something where Ian Book goes to the Falcons along with packaged with two, something like that, or maybe even Taysom Hill. I hate to say that, but maybe now that Sean Payton's gone, Taysom Hill might be moved there, and
But
to
they just
me,
paid him way too much
the
money.
Falcons might.
Yeah, they did. Well,
you know.
yeah, Sean Payton did.
Yeah.
In
They
his
did.
swan song.
So he had guaranteed money though, so he's not as much of a cap hit as some of the other quarterbacks. He didn't get quarterback cap hit money. He got like overpaid wide receiver cap hit money.
Yeah.
So maybe that's an opportunity for them to do it. I see that happening. I wouldn't be surprised if you see a team like the Saints not getting Deshaun Watson, because the Jimmy G thing, he only fits in a few places that really have the cap money to do it with, right? And I just don't see it happening too many places. We know Tua's staying at this point. Tua's not going anywhere because they got rid of their coach to keep Tua.
Yeah.
Right? So at this point we know where that team is at. So I think that everything's falling into place. We have an idea of what these guys are going to be and what they're doing.
No, yeah.
So that's my thought on that.
Isn't it great though? Like, what are we, March something, and we're still talking NFL.
It's the football season is never over.
We're
say all the
We're
time.
36 minutes into the podcast, and we haven't even talked about March Madness, which should have been the biggest story yesterday.
Yeah, but
It's
these
not-
free agents moving around, quarterbacks coming, Tom Brady out. Oh,
Well,
this
it
is
kept
great.
happening. Like
Quick-
this morning, we're sitting there doing notes, and it kept happening.
Quick news for our WWE, WWF, WCW fans. Scott Hall's family had said that they were going to take him off life support this morning. If you guys don't know the story, Hall went in to have hip replacement surgery. They found a blood clot. They thought they found it and fixed it. He had 3 heart attacks, and that happened over the weekend, and now the family is discussing taking him off life support. It looks like it's going to happen. So unfortunately, we may be losing,
Too sweet.
missing a little bit of
NWO
Razor
times. Yeah, man, that was all of us grew up in that era.
Yeah.
Early '90s watching NWO, and it was,
was, dude.
good times. And Razor Ramon,
Razor
even
Ramon
before that
was-
with the WWE stuff, it was good times. He brought us all a bunch of joy, I'm sure.
Yeah,
back in the day.
definitely. He was one of the wrestlers that I loved. I know that my ex-wife loved Razor Ramon. We always,
Yeah.
anytime she had a chance to see him, she wanted to.
Throwing his toothpick at
Toothpick,
everybody.
yeah, absolutely. So the story we should have talked about was this year's Final 4 brackets are out and the teams are announced, and we'll run through this real quick, guys. So Gonzaga got a number 1 seed and Duke got a number 2 seed in their division. You ended up having the number 1 seed Baylor and the number 2 seed of Kentucky. Number 1 seed for Arizona, which was kind of a big talk because Arizona's been so solid all year. Number 2 for Villanova, which was a little bit of a surprise, I think, for some. And a number 1 for Kansas and a number 2 for Auburn. Now that particular matchup in that region, I think, is probably the toughest. I think that's the group that has the biggest, toughest
Yeah.
load. But I wanted to talk about the Gonzaga league, at least from my standpoint. I've loved watching Gonzaga for a long time. I was actually on the radio in Spokane when they first became really good, and it was so much fun to be out there. It was amazing. But Duke being in that
Region.
bracket, it's interesting because there was a lot of thought that the NCAA would try to make it a little bit easier road
For Mike. Yeah.
and Coach K, and instead they put him through the frickin' gauntlet because you have teams like
Shut it
Arkansas
up.
at number 4
They
that
could win
can
it
punch
all.
them in the
Yeah.
mouth. They could win it all.
They're
They're good
good.
enough, right? Texas Tech is very, very good. So they loaded that division. That is definitely the showcase division, the West. And Duke had lobbied to be put in Chicago. They
Closer to
wanted
home?
they wanted to be in Chicago. It's actually farther from home.
Oh, is it?
But it's where Coach K is from.
Oh.
They were trying to get him to put in the Chicago, and the NCAA. Everybody's like, "Oh, the NCAA is they're gonna be soft for him. They're gonna do that." No, I don't know if he pissed someone off, but this division is an absolute gauntlet. That bracket. is
So
gonna be
before we
tough.
move off of let's pick one upset, round 1. Who you got? What's your one upset? Who you got, Jeff?
I'm going with my classic 12 versus 5. Every year it happens.
At least one, right?
Sometimes there's 2.
Okay.
So my pick is going to be New Mexico State beating UConn. A 12
Yeah,
beating a
UConn's
5.
not very good.
Yeah, you have to go out and you have to look at the 5 seeds and which one is beatable.
and it's in the West,
Right.
which means New Mexico State's going to travel and UConn's going to be sitting on their hands.
Correct.
For that matchup, there's going to be crickets for UConn.
Correct. And that's the
that's
matchups
a nice move.
you look for. Is you look
That's-
for those the who's the weakest or one of the weaker number 5 seeds that probably shouldn't be a 5 seed.
When you're UConn and you walk in that building and they black it out
Yeah.
for New Mexico, you're going to be intimidated a little bit as a college player. I don't care how big of you played on. That's going to be a little intimidating.
New
And
Mexico-
they're loud, right?
New
Mexico's
Mexico
loud.
State is loud, yes. So
Yeah.
that's my pick. That's a 12 beating a 5. I like to roll with the percentages.
Where are you going, Jimmy?
Well, I'm going to stay in the West as well. I like
Okay.
Davidson over Michigan State. We watched Michigan
Yeah.
State get beat up by Purdue this just yesterday.
Yeah.
They didn't show me that they have anything.
Yeah.
And Davidson, you know how they are, man. Those mid-major conferences that come in, they're
Yeah.
scrappy as hell. Especially, the first couple rounds because they don't realize like they shouldn't be there just
Right.
yet. When it gets into like the semifinals
Yeah.
and going in quarters,
Sweet 16,
yeah.
all
Then they
sudden
like, oh
it's different.
shit,
Yeah.
really? We like.
Well,
then they
spent
realize
2 weeks
nervous.
there or
Yes.
whatever, and you
getting
get it.
nervous energy, and
Yeah.
everybody's talking about how good they were, and they're,
Right.
Yeah.
Davidson's coming in the first week. I think they have a great shot.
So
at
they're
beating
saying that
Kansas
there's a
City.
couple kids on Davidson that are actually a lot better than people realize, and that they just didn't get the pub that a lot of
No
other
one
teams,
sees
especially when you had like Arizona, who normally you don't get as much pub on a Pac-12 team as they got this year, and that took eyes off of other divisions that might have gotten talked about.
Well,
as
of course,
much.
they get on TV as much, like the Loyal
Yeah.
Chicago's, and
Right.
they don't get on TV.
That's a definitely an interesting one, I think. I was kind of looking things over, and I know people love Wisconsin, but I actually think Wisconsin against Colgate is a really weird matchup, and it's because Wisconsin is not going to play fast, and Colgate's going to try to run.
See, I love those games like
And
that.
that's an interesting one, because when I watched this year Wisconsin go up against teams that wanted to run a little bit, they didn't look like they wanted to. Now if they're on, they'll win the tournament, because they shoot lights out. I mean, they'll shoot 60% from behind three. Like, they're
But they're
ridiculous.
so slow and boring to watch. Like, I
Right.
can't-
And that's the
I
thing,
can't stand
is that
watching
they might
Wisconsin.
just get run out the gym by a team like Colgate, and that could be that decisive factor.
That's
'Cause
gotta
I
be
just
a-
don't think they can match up.
That's
I
gotta be
was
a
gonna-
huge line, too,
yeah.
right? Is that
It's going to be a huge line. I'll bet you that is almost 18 points.
Yeah, but they don't score enough to even cover a
Right.
line like that. That's why it's like, wait.
It's just if
Wisconsin-
they're on, they can put up 15 threes.
Yeah, but they have to make all 15.
You know.
Like I was going to go with, my baby Steph Curry, Mr. Swan from Yale. That's who I was
He's
going.
pretty dope.
Dude, he's awesome.
He is. He's
So,
fun.
we had him on, we bet him Saturday playing the game against Penn. There's a kid named Dingleberry or Dingle from
Dingleberry.
Penn.
No way
That's,
it's Dingleberry.
There's Dingleberry.
it's close enough,
There's
but
no way
I
it's
kept
Dingleberry.
calling him Dingleberry because he kept making all these damn shots.
Right.
But Swan, Swain, or Swain, however you say his name, he's the real deal, man. That kid can shoot
Yeah.
for the Yale Bulldogs, and I was hoping they would get a better draw than Purdue, because Purdue's tough. They got huge bigs down low. They're going to be a hard out for anybody to beat.
Right.
But look out for my boy, baby Steph Curry, coming out of the Yale Bulldogs.
Colgate's only getting 7.5, by the way.
Okay, that's much better. Yeah.
Yeah.
7.5.
Still, but it's still, that's a.
What's the over-under in that game?
And your cute little upset is that Davidson's plus 1.5.
Hey-yo!
Huge upset there.
Taking the big underdog,
the
baby.
heat. Takes
Taking
the heat. He takes
Hey,
it.
at least I didn't take a.
Hey, way to
a
go out on a
favorite.
limb.
That's
Way to go out on a
because,
limb.
that's because the Sharps were already in.
Yeah, he's like, I'm
That's it.
taking it. This game's a pick 'em. I'm taking
Hey.
it.
Sharps were already in.
I'm trying to win it. I'm trying to win the whole thing.
I thought we
here.
were doing upsets. That's adorable.
Well, I'll tell you what, since we're talking about Sharps, we'll get into the plus or minus portion. This is where I talk investments with you guys a little bit. And I say that because, and I'm going to bring this guy up right away. We talked about Trubisky earlier, but I sat this morning, and as soon as the news hit, I watched auction after auction after auction after auction of Trubisky being sniped off of the four-letter word platform known as eBay. That move is so reactionary to what have you done for me lately. It's unbelievable. And guys, I'm telling you, if you have Trubisky's, if you got any decent graded stuff, if you got any of that stuff, throw it up on a 3-day auction right now, because you probably got 3 days, not 5, because he's going to fade out in the news real quick, especially with the Deshaun Watson thing today. I would get your stuff up there and get it moved, because it's going to be your chance to sell the stuff. I don't think Trubisky is a fix. I don't think he's someone that's going to be sustained long term. I don't believe that the collector community is going to actually believe in him. So the guys that are buying right now are purely the guys that are just looking for any opportunity in the market. First piece of news, they go, right? There's, things out there that could be like that. Whereas when we talk about the Watson situation, the Watson situation is different. The Sharps have been there. They've been sitting on Watson. They've been sitting on the big Watson cards, and they haven't come down in price. In fact, I would argue that his big stuff, his big PSA and BGS graded stuff, is overpriced. I'd actually say that right now it is. There is value, though, in buying raw Deshaun Watson right now. Card like this, $450.
Yeah, 'cause
That's unbelievable to me.
The day it's announced that he signs, we're getting a 20% increase.
Yeah.
Yep.
Buy
So
this
be
card
ready.
today
Yeah.
because by tomorrow you probably can turn it around for that price.
Yeah, who
Literally
else sits in
telling
their
you.
car for 15 minutes looking at Mitchell Trubisky on eBay? Only game day.
I wanted to see. Listen, I wanted to see what the market move would be as soon as I heard it because literally the news broke as I jumped off the freeway.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I want to see because I've watched it with other players, but it's been hours later. I wanted to see within minutes what it was, and I went. What I did is I hit Mitchell Trubisky auto, and I ran it by buy it nows, and I put cheapest to highest, and I just kept clicking on the top 10 cheapest ones to see what they went for. And just boom, 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 gone. And optic contenders for 300 and, all this stuff that we're going. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, wait, optic contenders for 250 to 300 and Deshaun Watson for 450?
Yeah.
What world do we live in that in your mind as an investor, that makes sense? It doesn't. Guys, do yourself a favor. Go out, buy yourself a nice Deshaun Watson cheap that's, raw. Don't buy a graded one because you're already maxing the market there, but the raw market is missing. And what that tells you is all these people that didn't grade over the last 2 years because they were afraid of the price have all these raw Deshaun Watsons and have just been dumping them there and letting them sit there, and they're sitting there right now, right? And if you have your card on eBay right now and you had it up there and it's been up there for a while, go bump it 20% because tomorrow or Wednesday you're going to get it and it's going to sell. So
that's dedication. You're obviously putting in the work. Like I said, no one else is going on eBay and looking at.
When I walked in, I heard Trubisky. I said,
He did.
"You better not be putting Trubisky in the plus or minus today." And he is right though on selling him. I thought he was saying buy. I'm like, no way in hell would I ever buy this.
No one's talking about buying.
Sell him
Sell him
right now, just like we gave you Jake Fromm when he started, and his cards got an instant 20%. Listen, we're giving you
bumped up
we're giving you 20%. If this happened in the stock market where you gave your money to a stock investor and he got you 20%, that would be the greatest stock investor in the world to get you 20% on your return every single year, time after time. We're giving it to you every single week.
We're doing it. And
grab your 20%.
Another spot to talk about is Fernando Tatis Jr. has a broken wrist. He's out 3 months, going to have surgery. Apparently, you said it was an ATV?
Yeah, word on the street is it was an ATV accident. It didn't happen yesterday. It happened about 2.5 weeks ago.
And that makes sense as to why this would be 3 months, because they're going to have to re-break it to fix it.
So it happened a while ago. However, he did not come to the Padres and let them know that it happened because obviously they couldn't talk and there would be some sort of issue. And obviously if he went out and got it fixed on his own and something happened to that wrist, now he's going to be liable for his contract to pay back the Padres. So he kept it under cool, came out, lockout's over? Yeah, my wrist is broken. I need to get this taken care of.
By the way.
Yeah, so my thought on Tatis is this, right? His market's been low already. His market's down. We all know that. The market's been down across the board for a lot of baseball players. We get reactionary. We're getting excited now. Now we're all speculating. You're already seeing Acuna stuff doing the 10 to 15% increases. It's starting to tick up. It's not jumping, but it's starting to tick up. It'll tick. The first time we see him swing in an inter-squad game and they show on ESPN him hit a ball over the scoreboard, his stuff will tick, right? Same thing with Trout, right? Guy right now, Soto, absolutely is an opportunity right now to take the lead as the guy. And I think Bryce Harper, being as vocal as he's being in this offseason and showing himself out, he's probably got a little different PR behind him, I think. I think there's someone pulling strings telling Bryce you need to be a lot more visible because you had as good of a year as you had and you still don't have the relevancy of some of these guys.
You need to be the face.
So, it's time for you to try to be the face ball and see if you can. But with Tatis right now, you're still going to be able to buy him cheap. His prices are not going to increase much beyond. His big stuff was already big numbers. And what's going to happen? No one's going to be reactionary and be like, let's drop it 30% because he's hurt. No. But what you will see come in is the same thing with Deshaun Watson. You're going to see a bunch of raw stuff start to hit the market. You're going to see it dumped in because guys don't want to spend the money on grading it, and they're tired of holding it because they want to turn it into something else that they want. That's where you're going to be able to take advantage of the market right now. I'm going to tell you, though, it's not a 6 month, it's not a year hold. This is a 2-year hold on Tatis. It's a 2-year hold, guys.
Tatis is if you can invest, and it's a lifetime investment on this guy, you could hold it as long as you want. This guy, his numbers are going to continue to rise. They were just showing on the TV before I came back here is that he was he has like something like 80-something home runs in his first like 3 years. But he's played 150 less games than everyone else on the list. Yeah. There's only one person higher than him, and it was Trevor Story playing in Colorado.
Yeah.
And he had 82 home runs. So it's like, wait, he had 80 home runs. He played 160 games. That's a whole season less than him, and was only 2 home runs behind him.
Right.
The kid is phenomenal.
Yeah.
He's got to get his head straight because he likes to floss and he likes to do all these things.
Go on ATVs.
Yeah, go into the Dominican Republic and have these yacht parties and all this shit that him and Wander Franco are doing right now. It's like you see these guys on yachts every other weekend.
Yeah.
It's like they got to get their shit straight. At some point, they'll turn into pros, and they'll just put up numbers and they'll do their thing.
And they're gonna get there. And a couple things I wanted to touch on before we move on to fantasy, and that was, I told you guys before the end of the season, I gave you guys some investments, I gave you guys some shots to take, and then all of a sudden, this lockout lifts its head off, and then I kid you not, they're staring you right in the face, and you guys are going to miss them. And the first one was, I told you to go buy Freddie Freeman. I told you to buy him big. I told you to take every dollar you had and to buy Freddie Freeman cards because he was going somewhere big, and he's going to be a Dodger. Mark my words. He is going to be a Dodger because of the DH situation that just made Muncy a DH. That opened up, in the Dodgers' mind, a whole nother level of money, and they don't care if they go over the luxury cap. They are going to sign Freddie Freeman for everything it takes. It doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. He will be playing for the Dodgers this year. They need a left-handed bat in the lineup because Seager just moved. It is the perfect player for them. And Carlos Correa, they've now been talking with the Yankees and all this stuff. He's not going to be a Yankee, guys, but he is going to sign with an absolute big-name team. That's the only place he's going to go. It's a reason why he's talked with the Yankees, so he can get the Cubs to give him the money that he wants. He's going to go to a big team, and these were both guys I told you, the end of baseball season, to go invest in now because you had a chance to buy them, and if you missed it, this is your last chance. This is it. Because as soon as these guys sign, their stuff's going to go through the roof. And it's almost going to tick you off because you're going to be like, I saw that Carlos Correa for $1,500 last week, and now they're asking $3,500 for it. That's exactly what's going to happen. And if he signs with the Yankees, that'll probably be one of the largest value increases on higher-end rookies that we've seen in a long time.
Yeah, most times you only get 20%.
Yeah.
Anytime somebody goes, a big-time free agent goes to one of these big-time teams, like the Dodgers picking up Freddie Freeman or the Yankees picking up somebody.
Jason Giambi is a perfect example. If you remember what Jason Giambi rookies were going for, and then when he signed with the Yankees, they were going for 8 times.
Yeah, you definitely get the 35 to 40% jump immediately as soon as they sign with them. Why? Because the fan bases are way bigger. They have way more money in those places. And that's where you're going to get your increase from. Yeah. Quick investments.
So, guys, when we're giving you this advice, we're throwing these investment thoughts out there. This is really to help you either, one, improve your PC, have substantial value over the period of time, or two, find a way to leverage your collection to get more money to get into your PC. It's a great way for you guys to do it, and we're trying our best to help you guys out with that. With that said, it's time for Jay's Fantasy Roundup. Each week, Jay comes with some fantasy advice. This week's interesting. I'm kind of excited about it.
This week's interesting because we've kind of moved on from basketball, obviously with the playoffs getting ready to start for fantasies. So a couple of guys with baseball, like we just talked about Tatis, right? And he's going to miss 3 months. He's still coming back in probably the June timeframe, which still, being such a long season for baseball, there's still time. There's still time for Tatis to contribute. So if you have like an IR spot, this guy's still going to get drafted high. It's not like it's football, to where if you miss 3 months in football, now all of a sudden you only get this guy for a couple of weeks, and will he be 100% when he comes back? Baseball's a different story, especially with the risk. I think that Tatis, like you, he'll come back and he'll be just fine. Yeah. It's not like it's a running back hurting their knee and then they have to come back slowly. You know what I mean? So I'm not scared off of Tatis as far as fantasy goes. And another guy that we were talking about off air before we started was Pete Alonso. He got in a car accident on Sunday. It was yesterday. Got in a car accident yesterday, and he rolled his car 3 times. I guess another driver ran a stop sign, and he rolled his car 3 times, and he came away unscathed. Like, he says that he's fine. A little shaken up from the accident, But he came out and even said that he will be a full go on Tuesday, tomorrow, at Mets camp.
Which, by the way, with that said, you can't tell me at Major League Baseball these teams weren't talking to players because of how fast they're in camp and they're where they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
And I get it's like you got your overnight bag ready to go. I get that that's what that is. But I'm telling you now, these guys being in place, already having media in spots, like, come on, guys. Like, there was discussions 10 to 15 days out. These players already had an idea. Like, this was a lot closer than we were led to believe.
Yeah.
By the way, about 10 minutes ago, the Jacksonville Jaguars signed Christian Kirk from the Arizona Cardinals.
Wow.
So
Cardinals are just...
That's Brandon Scherf they signed for their line. Jacksonville did from Washington, the Pro Bowl guard. And they just turned around about 10 minutes ago, signed Christian Kirk to a deal in Jacksonville.
And Trevor Lawrence is over there celebrating. He's having the best congratulatory calls and probably saying to him, like, hey, where do you want me to send your Rolex?
So now they got they're trying to beef up their line. Obviously he's older. Scherf is older. I'm not saying he's
but we knew they were going to do that.
But he's they're beefing up their line, which we think they should still do during the draft. They have DJ Chark coming back this year as a wide receiver. Now they went and added a very nice piece, I think, in Christian Kirk. Because I think that every year he's played in Arizona, he's gotten better. And, he's not a number one stud, but he doesn't have to be. If you have DJ Chark coming back in that same role that he was, and then you slide in Christian Kirk, that's a good combo there.
What do you think? What do you think the thoughts are now, being the case, and especially like I would think that seeing a line piece and a guy like this that were so complementary to that offense, Kyler Murray now, is he going to take a step back in fantasy because of moves like this? Even if they bring in young guys, is that going to be enough? And we already know he's not happy there in the first place.
Yeah, he's not happy there in the first place. And now you have DeAndre Hopkins, who's on the wrong side of 30 years old, and he seems to be getting hurt more often than he was.
I like Rondell Moore, though.
Rondell Moore, but he's a little guy.
Yes.
He's a little guy. He's like 5'7". And
so
what's the matter with being a little guy?
You're not a wide receiver.
Oh.
Are you talking about you? Yeah, you're not a wide receiver.
On defensive
So
back,
is Edelman. So is. I
wrong
mean, I
side
can
of
go
the
down
ball.
the list of guys who had really good careers and were good for their franchises. They may not have been the biggest movers of the card market or
I know, but two
fantasy.
little guys you mentioned had Tom Brady thrown to, not Kyler Murray.
I know.
So
Kyler Murray can't see the little guy coming across.
That's true. That's true. When you are,
little guy
you know
going
what?
another
When
little
the
guy.
little guy is still not the smallest guy in the locker, I get it.
Yeah.
I totally get it.
It's hard
My
to get
bad.
over the line.
It's gotta be like this
him.
now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm not saying Rondell Moore is a bad pick. I actually like Rondell
Yeah.
Moore in fantasy purposes. I'm just saying that I don't want to put all my eggs in that basket
Yeah.
just yet.
That's definitely. I don't know. Where do you think? How's that going to situate? Is he going to stay with the Cardinals?
Yeah.
And is it because he doesn't have a spot to go at this
Where's
point?
he going to go? Who's gonna be willing to take on that contract? Give him what he wants. Give up a ton to get him because there
Lions?
isn't. No.
Lions would move Goff.
Yeah.
They
would.
They
but
would
they're not
move
giving
Goff.
him-
They would. I'm
They
sure
would move Goff to
Who wants
there.
Goff?
I mean, they would move Goff to there, but that's what I'm saying. That's the first team. The second team would be the Giants. The third team would be the Falcons. The fourth team would be, I guess, probably
He
the
would have
Saints.
I think he would have a bunch of suitors.
I
if
think
he
there'd be
did,
10 teams.
But I don't think anybody's going to be able to give up to draft capital, give up everything they want. 'Cause
What
Brady-
Arizona wants.
And yes, what they're going to want to get for him. If Russell Wilson was getting 3 first-rounders, what do you think the Cardinals are going to want for a younger Russell Wilson, basically?
Texans wanted 3 first-rounders
For
plus. They
plus.
wanted 3 first-rounders plus
Yeah,
for
so-
Deshaun Watson. So what's asking for Kyler Murray? 4 first-rounders and
I mean,
a,
the only
and a
the only
player?
team I could see that has that to move would be Philadelphia, and Philadelphia could send a Jalen Hurts for. I mean, that's not outside of the thought of something that Philadelphia would do.
True, but do they want 3 of the 4 first to be this year in a shit draft?
No, but they would definitely. They're the one team that could give a first up this year, whereas most teams are going to give up future firsts.
Yeah, I just think
So-
he came out. He's going to get more money. They're going to sign him to like an extension or some sort of more guaranteed money on his contract.
See, and I thought
And
that
think
extension
he'll
would be signed by another team.
Yeah, we'll see. Only time will tell with these
That's
guys.
interesting. All right, what else you guys got going? What we got going this week in product?
This week with products, a little bit lighter than last week.
Last week
we
was
had
heavy.
Last week we had contenders and origins and Prism soccer. What else did we have?
Donruss Choice.
Donruss Choice basketball. We had a ton of good
Playbook.
product. Playbook football. This week it's going to be limited football. Out on I think on Wednesday, and that's about it.
Okay, so that stuff from this last week, there's some absolute monsters coming out of that
Yeah.
stuff. We've seen some crazy cards. You had some.
Contenders is always one of those products where it's very high risk, high reward though.
Yeah.
We opened up one case on Facebook and it was probably the best case I've seen. We had a number to 10 Mac Jones, a number to 16 Trevor Lawrence, another Trevor Lawrence auto, and
We had a number to 10 Herbie last night.
yeah, like Contenders
Yeah.
is one of those products where, you know, if you get lucky, you're striking gold. But there's going to be a lot of kicks in the nuts. A lot
I've
of
seen
guys
14 boxes like
yeah,
that
a
I
lot of
personally
stuff
touched.
that you don't know. But I keep telling everybody, hold off a second on all these guys that you think are nobodies, because they don't release the short print list until 2 months later.
Yeah.
So 2 months from now, they're going to come out and say, hey, guess what? This guy in his underwear that's a lineman that you know nothing about, he only signed 10 cards. And that's his only rookie card that he's going to have this whole year, and it's 10 cards.
Yeah.
So those cards go from instantly selling on eBay for $15, $20 to now $150, $120
Right.
because of the fact that now it's a short print. So hold off. Do not sell. I tell everybody when they open a box of Contenders, do not sell the first week. Hold off everything. Wait till that short print list comes out. Once that list comes out, you go check it real quick. If you have any of those guys that are on that short print, then you sell.
Speaking of lists like that and short prints, so Heritage Baseball dropped also this last week.
Yeah.
And I know that's not a big product for a lot of people, but Topps went ahead and took the game plan they'd been doing and they positioned in more short prints, more supers, more hard to finds, and also chrome parallels and different. So they actually stepped the product up a little bit. The short print list is actually really cool, and they did some really neat things with photography. So one of the short prints that I absolutely love, I think it's going to be a huge card, and especially if they do it in the chrome as well, is there's a Trout that's a back shot of Trout hitting with a green monster in the background of the shot. It's amazing. It's an absolutely cool, and it's done in that rustic look, so it looks like a vintage. As a pure baseball truist, it's going to be, to me, it's probably the card that's going to be real similar to the Kobe tribute. I think it'll be a lot like that card where it's got the green monster in the background, all that stuff. Very cool. Their short print list just came out today.
Yeah.
So that hit this morning. Cardboard Connection had that, so pretty cool.
Yep.
Anything else, guys?
That's it for me.
Man, we had a lot this week.
Yes.
Thank you guys for being here. We do have soccer singles. Now, the soccer singles today, these are going to come up GameDay Las Vegas at 1 p.m. today. GameDay Las Vegas on Whatnot, 1 p.m. Soccer singles with Argentino. So make sure you guys get in on that. And then Jay will be on at 12:30. And Jay is going to be rocking football singles as well as some products for you guys. We want to rip some products.
Personal rips?
Personal.
Yeah.
Personal
Get those-
football season.
Yeah, so let's get those, get that game plan in. Whatnot, follow GameDay LV, follow GameDay Las Vegas.
Thank you, Jamie. Appreciate you, buddy.
And we also have, we're coming up on 4,000 followers on GameDay LV, and we are right around the corner. Like, we might have already hit, or we're really close to 1,000 followers on the GameDay Las Vegas page. So guys, get in there, because you never know when Santa Jimmy decides to start dropping presents from the sky.
Silverback.
That's right, he does. But otherwise, guys, next time we see you, we'll go monster hunting.